What do you think? Do I need to add more water? If you say no, then you're wrong. If you say yes, then you're on to something, okay? It's way too dry. Okay, so we're gonna make a little depression in the middle. I'm gonna add more water. This is probably better off if you use a hose, but I'm gonna add all of that and hope that I haven't added too much, which I don't think I have. Okay, again, we don't want it to be a slurry. I think we need more. It's getting there. You can see this is a little bit too much. You can see when you squeeze it, a lot of water comes out. In general, it's still too dry. Okay, we've added some more water. There's a possibility I added slightly too much, but that's not a problem. You might just have to get your hands dirty. Okay. I just tested it out and I made some beautiful little blocks. You can see they're 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. They have a little depression in the center of them where we're going to put the seeds when we're done. So let me show you how I did this, and then I'll show you samples of other block makers. Okay, so you want to get good leverage. Okay, put your hands on these handles and you twist. You twist it so you're filling up that block. You're filling up those cells, okay? And then you sort of lift it up and shake off the excess. Just rub the excess off there. You don't want to walk with this upside down because gravity is going to let these soil blocks fall out. So you walk over here. These flats have been made specifically for these particular blocks. You get 3 rows across. This is an Elliott Coleman configuration, okay? So now you're going to push down on these handles and the spring is going to push those blocks down. Don't lift this up until you've let go. Now lift it up. And voila, there you go. You got beautiful blocks. They're moist enough. They're not too wet. And okay, so let's do one with a 2-inch block, okay? This is a 2-inch block. This one, I like to use the bigger block maker, this one. But if you're working with little kids, sometimes it's easier for them to use this one. Okay, and you fill it up. You fill it up nice and tight. Okay, and you don't want to put 2-inch blocks in with 1.5-inch blocks. The 1.5-inch blocks are going to be for smaller seed like lettuce and spinach. The bigger ones are going to be for plants that take longer to grow and ready to, okay? There's your 2-inch block. Okay, now also you can do this bigger one. So you could start plants. These are 2.5, 3 inches, and there's 6 of these. Okay, you're twisting, you're turning, okay. This might be slightly wet. So then you twist it, shake out the excess, and just run that along the edge of there you go, okay? So in this one, we've got bigger blocks. Now what can you start in these bigger blocks? You could start peppers, you could start tomatoes in here. And actually, there are smaller blocks they're little tiny ones that you can transplant the little ones into these, but we're not gonna do that. Okay, and the last one is a 4-inch block. This is something I just bought. I'm really not that familiar with using this one. But there we go. I think this soil mixture is a little bit too wet, okay? How you would know it's a little too wet, if I do this, falls right out, okay? So there's one way to get around that, if you've made it a little too wet, is maybe just let this sit out in the sun for a few hours. Maybe some of the water will evaporate. Or worst case scenario, you could add a little bit more peat, okay? So there's this 4-inch one, and we're gonna put this in, a different flat, okay? I'm not saying don't use plastic. A lot of people have plastic containers that are left over from purchases. So rather than throw this away, I use these once in a while. So you could put the soil blocks in here, or I could put 2 of these across here. But okay, that's a little wet, okay? But that, you would put an 1.5-inch block right in there. So when you grow the plant in there, say a tomato or a pepper, and you want to get it really big and not have to transplant, stick it right in there and it'll grow. The roots will grow all through that. The roots don't get trapped in a circular ball at the bottom of the soil block, okay? The roots grow in a more natural way. So when you transplant, you're getting a growth. The root growth is more. It has more oxygen, has more space. Okay. So we're gonna plant this particular flat. Let me finish this flat. So here we've got our soil blocks. These are 1.5-inch soil blocks. We're in our nice flat here. There's approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 60 potential plants here. Okay, so we're going to plant spinach in this flat. This spinach is going to stay in here for approximately 2.5 weeks before we transplant it into the garden. Another section will be transplanting these blocks directly into the garden. Okay, so how do we plant this? There's lots of varieties of spinach. Okay, so I look at this. These seeds are from Fedco in Maine. Great seed company again. It's a cooperative seed company. I love their prices are reasonable. They have great graphics in their catalog. So you take, this is Olympic spinach, okay? And it gives you information on the pack. 90% of these seeds will germinate. So just in case, I'm gonna put 2 per block. I'm gonna do 3 rows, okay? So I'm good at tapping them out, but if you don't feel comfortable tapping them out, these are big enough, so let's do that. Let's put them in our hand, and we're gonna do two seeds. Don't get these wet, okay? 2 seeds per little dimple in here. So 1, 2. 1, 2, whoop, there's 2, 2. Okay, 2. We're gonna do 3 rows of these, 2, 2. Okay, we know there's 90% chance that they're both gonna germinate. So this way, it's sort of foolproof. Okay, let me put a few more in, and then what are we gonna do then? Because people like to document what they're growing to see if they like a particular crop, we're gonna label them. I'm gonna use these little sticks over here, which I'm gonna get you in a second. Okay, so there's 3 rows of Olympia spinach. It's a hybrid spinach, okay? So you plant them a 1/2 inch deep, 1 inch apart in rows. So if you're planting direct in the garden, in rows 12 to 18 inches apart, as soon as ground can be worked. So you know spinach likes cool weather, it doesn't like the heat. Okay, so we're gonna label this. You have these little sticks, you can buy these at garden centers. Olympia spinach. Olympia. Olympia spinach. SP, and I put the number of days, so it says on here 38 days. 38 days, okay? So what are we going to do? We're going to put that right here, and we're going to put down 3R, meaning 3 rows. 3 rows, okay? So you're going to take that and take your finger and just pull a little bit of soil over that little depression there, just to cover them up, okay? Press down. I mean, if you were doing this commercially, you could actually get these things to sprout by constantly misting them and not covering them, but that's a chance you take of letting them dry out. You don't want them to dry out. You don't want them to be too wet, okay? So the colder it is, the longer it takes for these seeds to germinate. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these to the high school greenhouse where I started the agriculture program at the local high school, and I'm going to put these in a greenhouse unheated where they'll be protected from the elements. If you don't have a greenhouse, you can put them in a really sunny window. Okay, just keep them well watered, not overly watered. These flats should be moist. Okay, you don't want them to let dry out. Okay, so that's essentially what we're going to do. I'm going to plant a couple more varieties of spinach. One is perpetual spinach, which means it comes all season. It grows even in the hot weather. Most of these spinaches will go to seed as the weather gets too warm. Okay, spinach panics when it gets too hot. When plants panic, just like people, they have their biological clock, they want to reproduce. Plants are the same way. When they feel like their time is up and they're going to be stressed out, they want to make babies, so they'll go to seed. They'll put all the energy of the plant into making seeds, and the spinach will become really bitter. Okay, so you don't want bitter spinach. Okay, so all these plants have different time frames about how long they take to mature. So spinach is an early season crop. Also in other flats, what I'll be doing today, I won't show you that, but you get the idea. I'm going to plant lettuce. I'm going to plant beets, which is in the spinach family. I'm going to plant oriental greens, different kinds of greens like tatsoi and senpose. These are greens from Japan. And next time you'll see these plants growing in these flats, we'll transplant them into garden beds out there into the garden. Okay, I think that's it for today. Hopefully you get an idea of how to prep your soil, what to add to the soil, what to do to get your seeds started if you can't or you don't want to buy seeds or you don't want to plant directly into your garden. Not everything can you plant in these soil blocks. For instance, things like carrots, the seeds are way too tiny and they're very difficult to transplant. I wouldn't put carrots in here, but you can put almost any other plant in here. Some herbs and flowers tell you to direct seed into the ground. Okay, but most of the vegetables, I would start tomatoes and peppers and eggplant and squash in a bigger soil block than these. As you saw, I had different varieties there. Okay, and they're all going to be transplanted into the garden at different times. They all have different tolerances for daylight and heat, mainly heat. So the longer the day, the warmer the days become. So this early on, we're going to do mostly leafy greens, okay? Leafy greens, and hopefully I'll start onions in the next few days from seed. Okay, that's it for today. Any questions? Okay, until the next time, get started. And if you don't know, if you don't have much experience, just start doing it.